Okay, so we're going to talk about this for a second. And Lee, I want to ask you this question. Have you ever gotten or met somebody or hired somebody where they said, listen, man, we're going to take you to the next level. We're going to make you that celebrity in your niche. We're going to do all of this for you. But then after a while, you started to see some things happen where it was almost like they didn't want you to get too big. They didn't want you to supersede them. They didn't want you to get more successful than them. And they started to do some things that you were scratching your head about saying, if you really wanted to help me, would you have done those things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just share an experience.
You know, I have seen that more from the copywriter side. And that being working for a client and then discovering how they're treating their clients. So my experience on it has been more fly on the wall, where I've seen firsthand what they're doing, and exactly what you're saying. You know, there's a certain ceiling to where they don't want people crossing, and that's not everybody. But you know, as you say, the question becomes, how do you know which ones have your best interest at heart and which ones are just up to take you just high enough to make you okay with not asking for a refund?
Right. So here's the deal. I'm going to raise my hand and admit that I was very, very insecure early on in my career. And I was afraid to see people succeed. Okay? I was afraid to see people that were doing the same thing that I was doing and they were hiring me for help. I was afraid to see them get bigger than me. And it's a horrible feeling. And I don't know if any of you guys that are watching on, YouTube and Facebook right now have ever felt that insecurity before. And I can promise you that that insecurity is going to kill you eventually, like literally. Because you're going to wind up doing things that are just going to hinder your growth. So how did I get over that? Through a lot of coaching. I will be blatantly honest with you. I went to family therapy. I hired a mindset coach. I read tons of personal development books and listened to spirituality trainings and things like that to really help me understand that I had everything I needed in life inside of me already. I just needed to get creative and resourceful to pull all of that out. And it was like I flipped a switch, Lee. It's very hard for me to tell you the exact moment that happened, but I do remember this one. Incident where it wasn't a client, it was a team member. So a local community college reached out to me and asked me if I did an internship program. And at the time I didn't, but I was very interested in it. So I said, well, what does that include? And what do I need to do to make that happen? So it was some little bit of paperwork, but I get my first intern and she was phenomenal. Lee, she was a better designer than I was.
Wow, that's saying a lot. And
what happened was I was like, I'm afraid to lose her. Because she's pumping out some great work here. My clients are going crazy over the work. I need to hold on to her as hard as I can, right? And what I did was I squeezed her so tight that she literally popped and went to another firm.
Right.
She popped and went to another firm. And I realized after that, I need to change my approach. and I need to nurture. I need to become more of a nurturer and more of a what's the word? A mentor or a parent figure versus somebody who's afraid to lose and comes from this scarcity mindset. And so next team member comes by, and I promised myself I am not going to squeeze them so hard where they're going to run away. And same thing happens, right? I get some great work out of them for a few months, and then they leave and they go to another firm. But this time, I encouraged them to leave. I wanted them to leave because they were looking for things that I could not provide, AKA health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't in the position to offer that. Right. And this person had a family to take care of. Right. And so they had to do what they had to do. But at that point, I said, you got to do what you got to do. And I am going to back you 1,000%. So what did I do? I wrote them references. Right. And I became part of their journey. And that changed everything. And then I realized that this scarcity mindset wasn't serving me anymore. And I needed to flip it because I needed to come into more of an abundance mindset and say, listen, I will find another team member. There will be more business. There will be another way to tackle this situation. I cannot live in scarcity anymore. It's not helping me. So how do you truly find somebody that's willing to help you? I wish I had the bullseye answer for this, but for the one that comes to mind right away is trial and error, my friend. And I think you're going to know right away by their actions, not their words, but their actions, as to whether or not they're willing to really help you full throttle versus them just getting you to a point and keeping you there so that you don't get better than them. I mean, it's such a tough question for me to answer with a bulletproof response. But what would be your thoughts?
First of all, the most successful people in any niche, in any industry, give far more than they take.
Yeah.
They know that by giving more than they take, that they will always have enough. And I will always have a cat. Come here. Damn it. Make up your mind. The phrase that I've used over and over again with my clients, and it always seems to sink, is this: you can have more when you realize you have enough.
Yes. So
simple and yet so universally useful. You can have more when you realize you have enough. And it goes right back to that scarcity mindset that you were talking about earlier. When you stop being afraid that you're not going to have a designer who can help you, that's when one's going to walk in and say, here I am. When you stop being afraid.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to bring up, that's a great point. It is a great point. And you hear a lot of these super successful people saying that, where they give way more than they receive. And that's how they've grown unbelievably. Right. And the other thing that I want to point out, and I was thinking about this before we went live, it's, have you done an internal audit on the energy that you're putting out? Are you putting out that scarcity mindset mentality and attracting more of that into your life? It's a rhetorical question, but I'm a firm believer of the energy that you put out is what you get back. So if you're getting people that are sort of half-assing their help to you? Or are you putting out that vibe that's attracting that? And that's a tough one to swallow. That's a real tough one to swallow. But there may be something there that you internally need to check out to stop the pattern, to stop those folks from coming into your life. And I think what will happen is when you show that abundance mindset, that you're not afraid to give it all, you're going to attract other folks that aren't afraid to give it all. And I think that is where the real test comes in. And, you know, I really think that there's some comments here on Instagram I want to just respond to.
Sure.
Sometimes you have to try to help someone, but they will turn you wrong. Unfortunately, Raul, there's people out there that will do that. But you really need to understand that you can't let that stop you, right? There's going to be, what did Jim Rohn say in one of his videos that I was watching the other day? He said, great things will come under attack. It's just how life works. Don't ask me why that is. It just is. So you got to make sure that you protect yourself, right? So again, you could do that in 1,000 different ways, but understand that when you get really, really good at something, you will get attacked. And you just got to be ready for it. And you cannot let those attacks, this is the key here, you cannot let those attacks hinder your forward progress. You have to do what you need to do to address them and continue to march on. Okay. And that's where we're really, really put to the test. So some more great comments here. Love Catherine. There had been a few people that I've come across who wished me well and wanted me to do well, but not wanting me to do better than themselves. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is the topic of conversation,
Right.
Catherine. So how did you handle that, Catherine? I would love for you to chime in the comments here and we'll address those. Not all people want you to do good. Yeah, true. But if you have to connect with the right one, you got to go fast, hiring and firing. Yes, that's true. You got to hire and fire fast. That is a phenomenal point. Anks Patel, what's going on, my friend? He's over there on Facebook. So, yeah, I think it comes down to really identifying the values up front. Nigel says here on Facebook, you got to create that support system. You got to be upfront and honest with the expectations of that system. And there needs to be a no judgment zone, right? And leave the judgment out of the relationship. It's very hard to do. I'm not saying this is easy to do, but something that Lee and I truly want to address here, because I think a lot of why the folks that are watching this right now aren't succeeding at the level that they should be is because there's some mindset issues here that's blocking you from opening up wide and going all in. And I think, Lee, you did a phenomenal job this year. You know, you made some commitments earlier this year on doing some things and changing some lifestyle habits, right? That have really propelled you to another level of your career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you if you want to go there or not. But are there some things that you've realized over the past year that you said to yourself, well, I'm happy I let go of that limiting belief or that habit because it has helped me excel?
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely been a breakthrough year in a lot of ways. And I have made some mistakes, but you know, when you commit to learning, you commit to the mistakes too. And then that's the part that trips most people up, and that kept me from where I needed to go for a long time. I struggled with a lot of self-worth issues, and that was for a long time. It it didn't matter how many people said, hey, you're doing a great job. It was 99 people could tell me that, and then one person could tell me I suck, and then just suddenly my is gone. But so I've been learning to take back control. Everybody wants to control something. Either they control other things or they control themselves. And with the internal control is the only one that gets you anywhere. So I did make some mistakes. I became an employee of an organization and just did the salary thing for about 6 months this year, just because I got tired of chasing around clients. And I was like, okay, well, this sounds like a nice break. But the name escapes me, but the quote is something like, the 3 most dangerous addictions in the world are heroin, carbohydrates, and a monthly salary.
Oh my
And
God.
I definitely found that to be very true. Somebody look that up for me, please. I can't do that and talk at the same time. I can barely do one thing at once. But that taught me, the lesson of my own self-worth, because like eventually I got to the point where I just knew I'd so far outgrown that, and I had so much more to offer that I couldn't stand to be like, okay, I'm going to keep on the status quo and just ride this out. It became like, look, there are bigger things to do. There are bridges to burn here, people.
Okay, so Angst Patel, he's got a quick question here. He's like, what context are we talking to here? Let me give it to you real quick, Angst. So a client of mine came to me and said, I've been attracting, I've always been wanting to find like-minded folks that were as passionate about what I do as me, and to help me grow and build a successful business. And what happens is it's good for it's good for a while. And then all of a sudden I start to really I really start to pick up momentum and pick up some steam, and they see my success and they want to kibosh it, because now I'm at the point where I'm superseding them and I'm becoming more successful than them. And they're saying, no. That's not how it works here. I'm going to help you to this point, and then you need to just pump the brakes, because you can't get better than me. Otherwise, right, I'm going to knock you off your game. Okay? And that is something that I think we need to address right away. Here's another way to handle this, right? I think when the minute or the second you get that impression that this person is at the lobster mentality, Chris McIntosh says, yeah, exactly. The minute you get that person reacting that way, I think you got to cut them, and cut them fast, and get on with it. Like, just keep it moving, because that person could turn into a cancer real quick and hinder your growth. And then you're going to be kicking yourself in the ass, because you're going to be like, why did I keep this person around for so long? So I think it's an awareness thing. I think you need to really understand seeing this, or if you want to get ballsy with it, ask them why they suggested that, or why they said a certain thing. Because he said in the text message that I got, a lot of times they'll try to discredit him. And I would ask the question, like, what was your intention behind that comment, or that whatever, however they discredited him, right? And really get specific with it and see what they say, because that might unlock some things that you weren't even thinking of. Do I think there's people out there that want to intentionally destroy you? Unfortunately, yes. I do think that.
And the more successful you become, the more prominent that becomes.
Right.
It's an unfortunate byproduct of putting yourself out there. So
yeah.
Grab a helmet, kids.
That's it. And I just think that we cannot control what other people do, right? We can't, but we can control what we do. So the minute we feel that, they got to go, right? They got to go because it's only going to get worse and worse. Chris McIntosh on Facebook says, I think another thing in line with that is being careful and not get into the habit of using a coach, expert, mentor, senior as a crutch. Chris, that's a great point. Right? Right?
Yeah. What are you
I think
looking for?
That's a great point. Right? Here's another great point on Instagram. Milan says, don't even ask the question. The minute they start to come with that discrediting bullshit, just leave. And don't ask, don't even, you don't have to give them an answer. Just go. Interesting. I love
that.
This.
Is a good point. You don't really owe anybody an explanation if they're not your target market, if they're not somebody you can serve. Why the hell do you care what they think?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. That's something that I've had to drill in my own head over the last year too. It's just like, look, if I can't serve you, you don't matter. And that sounds, terribly statist or whatever, but it just is what it is. Look, you can't serve everybody.
No. Or you may get to the point where you can only serve them to this point, and that you have to let them go. I mean, I can do so much as the owner of a branding agency. I can only do so much. Once I start to do too much and get out of my lane, that's where I start to get into trouble, right? And I dealt with that for quite some time earlier in my career. And I realized that I cannot serve everybody and I can't serve everything. So stay in my lane, do what I can, and then let them go. Let them spread their wings and fly. It's okay. You've served them. You've helped them get to where they wanted to be with your skill set. That's why they came to you. Mm-hmm. I think it comes from people need to work on their insecurities, and that's what's going to help them flourish, right? Mm-hmm. To this day, I am constantly working on myself. To say that I'm 1,000% secure with myself is a lie, right? And I think if you ask Gary Vaynerchuk if he's 100% secure with himself and he says yes, I'm going to call him out on it. I'm going to say, I don't know about that, Gary. So, but here's the deal. This is something that I heard about. Actually, my coach had said this to me, right? I have these voices. We all have these voices in our heads, right? Some of doubt, some that want to pull us back and stunt us from growing. And the first thing he asked me was, whose voice is that? Whose voice is that? Mm-hmm. And I've never been asked that question before. So I immediately said, that's my dad's voice. And I start to think back, like my dad was not a big risk taker. He wasn't. But man, was he a hell of a worker. He still is a hell of a, he's still working at 77 on doing these odd jobs and snow plowing and this and that. But when I realized that it's his voice in my head and not my own, I immediately course correct that. I've had some family members that would tell me things like, what the hell are you doing that for? Or why are you telling that person that? They could use that against you, and you're growing the competition, Henry. What are you doing giving out all that information on Facebook Lives?
Yep.
Whose voice is that? It's not mine. Because I'll give the world. There's nothing that I won't give somebody if they ask. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I just think, so we're getting into the part of the conversation where I want to help the folks that may have this insecurity, and you don't need to raise your hand and be like me and be so transparent where they'll say, yeah, I was the guy that used to hold people back. But if you have this insecurity and you're a coach or consultant or you're in the position of serving, I would strongly advise you to do that exercise and ask yourself, the next time you try to hold somebody back and limit them, whose voice is telling you to do that? And just think twice about putting that energy out into the world, because it's going to come back to you. It always does. It always does.
Yep.
So
that's super powerful. Whose voice is that? Because it always does. It always comes from somewhere else. You know,
yeah.
we're basically a composite of DNA and societal experiences. You know, that's what makes us. But fortunately, we've developed these wonderful things called prefrontal cortices that allow us to course correct that stuff. So, you know, it all evens out.
Yeah. Here's a question from our Seward 98 from Instagram. How do you get rid of that when you're surrounded by it 24/7?
Get rid of,
I think the
toxic mindset.
The toxic mindset or toxic people.
You know, it's for me personally, it's taken a lot of inner reflection and meditation and just the work inside. You know, I'm personally a huge fan of Eastern philosophy. I study Taoism and Buddhism quite extensively, and you know, the things that goes into are do center around essentially being the calm in the center of the storm. You know, that's way too much to go in, and I don't want to get off into a philosophical discussion on here, but for me, that's what it is. For you, for anybody finding your own truth, for me has been the hardest thing in the world, because, you know, just there are so many people out there trying to tell you what you should think and what you should feel and how you should be and what you should want. And so it's so critical to take that time to reflect and to go inside. And I know I'm getting all woo-woo here, but, you know, to find out what the hell it is you really want, what it is, what you want to, how you want to spend your time on this earth, and who you want to serve while you're here.
Yeah.
Because you don't exist in a vacuum. You don't matter in a vacuum. You only matter in the context of your social structure. You only matter in the context of the people that you either help or don't help.
That's correct. That's correct. I think, and this is a quote that I heard a long time ago. I think it was Tony Robbins. Not a huge fan of him anymore, to be honest, but this one really stuck with me. The comment was, living is for giving. Living is for giving.
Nice.
Now you could play with those words however you'd like.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Right. But he said, when you start to live to give to people, like another world opens up. Another world opens up inside of you, outside of you. And like, I'll never forget that, because I was like, I always thought living was for taking. And I lived many of my years like, what can I take from the day? Right? Instead of what can I give to the day? And that mindset switch, that paradox shift, has helped me grow exponentially. And I think that's how people ask me, how the hell did you grow your Instagram account 33,000 people in 60 days, or we're going on 90 days now.
Right.
And I said, I gave a shit ton of myself, my experience, my expertise away. And I actually paid people to give it away, aka influencer marketing.
Right. Right.
So that's like pouring gas on the fire. And like, that's how I did it. I wish there was I wish I could give you like the step-by-step tactical play there, but it was just giving more than I was getting back. And what happened was eventually it catches up to you, and people start to follow you, people start to share your stuff, people start to buy from you ultimately, right? And that's what happens. And so like a lot of times I see a lot of people playing the short game because that's what they're being coached and that's what's selling right now. Do this and 90 days and you'll get this result. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is I think it's a poor mindset all around. If you're going in on that stuff, you're not my client. I can promise you that. And I'm not your client either. I'm seeing angst here. No need to be the best known secret anymore. Right. Yeah, I think if you want to become the best known secret, then you'll be out of business in 90 days.
It's okay. So I've been listening to quite a bit of Naval Ravikant's lectures. I'm not familiar.
Never heard of him.
So he said there's four kinds. In business, there's four kinds of luck, and in business and life. And he says, the first kind of luck is just dumb luck, where you just bumble along, and every once in a while you find something that sustains you, gets you on to the next thing. And the second kind of luck is just busy luck, where you're just throwing so much stuff and get crap against the wall, just seeing what sticks, and just basically like just making a living off of just being super busy. He said the third kind of luck is getting so good and knowing so much about what you do that you're able to spot opportunities where others don't. Okay. And the fourth kind of luck, and this is the one that you and I and a lot of the people who are listening are aspiring to, is where you become such a valuable and unique resource that luck finds you. And
I like that.
It's the long game, he says, and I found that to be true. Yeah. He says, by branding, by giving, by being consistent, and by being unique, that luck finds you. And of course, I had some people, when I put that on LinkedIn, I had some people who say, "Oh, luck doesn't exist." That doesn't matter. That's not the point. It doesn't matter what you want to call it.
Yeah. I listen. I'm a firm believer of that. I think that we really need to pay attention on the things that matter, the things that move the needle. And to me personally, I think that's mastering our craft and doing the best that we can, taking a stand for something. I was encouraged the other day to weigh in on this whole Colin Kaepernick thing that happened a couple weeks ago where, he held this private training down at Atlanta, and he invited all these NFL scouts to come and watch him train. And then at the 11th hour, he changes the facility of where he's going to be at, and threw everybody for a curve. And, I was like, is this guy a marketing genius or a complete moron here? Does he really want to get back into the league and play and like carry himself as an astute player? Or does he want to still continue to be an activist and weigh the activism over him following the rules of the NFL? The reason why the NFL is the way it is and it's the organization that it is because it has freaking rules. And if you want to break those rules every single time you can, or you want to play by your rules, then just continue to be an activist and play by your rules. Shit, I think that his Nike endorsement deal was close to $22 million. Take that money and do some great activist things with that, right? And so I was like, so my coach was like, dude, you have some really strong feelings about this, don't you? Why haven't you wrote about them? And I go, aha. So I got to get out there and write. So before I lose this thought, the other thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to how do you find the right people that truly want to help you? When they say those discrediting things, when you get that initial thought that they're trying to kibosh your growth, What is making you think that? What is making you think that? Because one thing that I've realized over the years was I would get other people's intentions wrong. And I would lose friendships over that. I would lose business deals over that. Right. Here's a quick story for you. So here's how I almost lost the $60,000 deal. Okay. Here's a guy who I thought was trying to scope creep on me, like add more stuff to the project after we agreed to what the deliverables were. And here he was trying to just explain to me that there was a line item wrong on the agreement that I oversaw, and that fourth line item should have been what he wanted in the first place. And so immediately I didn't catch that because it was over text message and I didn't have the agreement in front of me. So right away, I go off like a hothead, wanting to charge him extra and do all of these things and start to argue with him about it being over scope, where he just wanted the line item corrected. And like the text messaging got really heated. And then when I had the time shortly after that, I called him and I said, I think things are getting lost in translation here. Let me explain where I'm coming from and let me hear where you're coming from. And thank God I did that because it saved the $60,000 deal. And I really started to understand where his intentions were. And I was so off.
Yeah.
And so I want to challenge you to question yourself and to ask yourself, like, why do I think this person is discrediting me? Why do I think this person is trying to stunt my growth? That's going to open up some information that I don't know if you're ready for. But this is a deep topic, Milan says. Yes, it is. And how does this have anything to do with branding? How does this have anything to do with, building a business? I believe it has everything to do with it. Because if you're walking around thinking that you're the next guru in your space, right? And people are walking around saying, does this guy really want to help me? Or is this guy like full of baloney because he only helps you to this point and then he starts to sabotage you? Like, is that the reputation? Is that the brand identity that you want for yourself? Exactly. And you may not even know you're doing it. So I think that's why I think it's important to have this conversation on both ends, as the receiver and the giver, because there might be people out there. Do you think I consciously knew that I was sabotaging that designer on my team? No.
Well, no.
I wasn't doing it intentionally, but now I look back and I realize where I was coming from and where I was at that point in my life. And I was like, oh, wow. Wish I could have done that over. But lesson learned, had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have this conversation and I wouldn't have this story to tell you today. So I don't regret it, but very, 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 very deep conversation here. We got some great comments coming in on Facebook too. To remove the toxicity, Nigel's saying, to remove the toxicity, first recognize the situation. Next, begin working on the mindset to strengthen yourself. Next, you begin the steps to remove the toxins in your life. And this is a process. In this, you'll experience pain, resistance, and agony, but keep going. Even if it takes more time than you expect, keep training yourself and move into more of a positive situation. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Then you will be the lifestyle of your choice. That's well said. Very well said. Be it and achieve it says, if they were decent enough, they would be honest and tell you you are growing. And I cannot help you, but I know someone who does to see you achieve your goal. So basically what he's saying is if you can't help that person to that next level, then be confident enough to to give them to someone else that can.
Yeah.
Right. And
Exactly.
I do a lot of that with the Brand Accelerator program. So once somebody comes through my program, they get their brand identity, they get their brand strategy. Everything is built, everything is launched, everything is ready to be seen by the world. Now they need someone to help them run campaigns or ads to get more eyeballs on it, right? That's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
I design the ads, but I don't run the campaigns. So I've linked up with somebody that I worked with over the course of a year or so, helped me build my campaigns out. And we have a nice little handoff. Like all my clients go to her. She sets them up. I get a referral fee every month as long as that client stays on board with her. And it's a happy marriage, right? And that's how we work it, because I'm not trying to do your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads. I'm not trying to do that because I know I suck at it. I got to stay in my lane. But I think this person's right. You know, be it and achieve it. Like, you got to have the balls and you got to have the confidence to allow yourself to give that person off to the next person that could help them get to where they want to be. No sense of holding them back. Okay. Deep online. Sometimes you start feeling the partnership will not grow long. Should we get into these kind of deals seeing present, or let them go as they will turn toxic in the future? Lee, you want to grab that one? My initial gut reaction.
Yeah, go right ahead.
My gut reaction is no. I would not take on that relationship. And if I did, I would make sure that my expectations were very clear, very black and white, so that they understood what it was going to be like to work with me and how I understood what it was going to be like to work with them. The clearer you can be, the better you could work out that relationship. Lee?
Yeah. I would definitely agree. You know, it's just, you know, gut instinct is, I hate to go back to that, but I mean, as you say, you know, something at the onset, some red flag is going to come up at the beginning. And if there's already that question, then, you know, it's either something out of alignment with you or something out of alignment with them. So
yeah. I mean, if they're doing something unethical or they're trying to do something shady, the answer is no right off the bat. There's no sense of changing it. There's no sense of explaining expectations. If it's not aligning with your values, your beliefs, your thought processes, then I would excuse myself from that partnership. Yeah. But if you see some great opportunity there, then don't be afraid to address some of your concerns in an expectations call or in an expectations conversation. Because again, when you get that information, you might have been off the mark with the intentions that they had, and that could easily get cleared up. So I think at the end of the day, we need to ask more questions. So if and that's going to really open up the conversation, and it's really going to help you get a better understanding of whether or not this person's a good fit to help you or not. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. If you're the one helping, are you going to be able to help this person all the way or to a certain point? And then they'll have to go on and find something else. Yeah. Be clear is the lesson. Yeah, Milan. Yeah. Be clear in your communication, be clear in your expectations, and be clear in your intentions. I think that'll save you a lot of frustration. And I also think it will make you a hell of a lot of money at the end of the day.
That's true. But, you know, one thing I want to leave you with is that, you know, look at this from the other perspective too, that, you know, when you're becoming a leader, and it's not going to take long. And when you put yourself out there, it doesn't take long for other people to start looking up to you. And you have to decide what kind of leader you're going to be and how available you're going to make yourself to others. And I know from running a copywriting agency in years past that I always you know, in the agency, if somebody said, you know, I'm not here permanently, I'm just, you know, that's great. That's what I don't want you here permanently, you know, because, you know, the agency, you know, I didn't pay it, you know, premium rates, obviously, because of who we were serving. I want you to do better than that. So my job is to teach you how to get to that next level where you can take on bigger clients. And those people are people who refer clients for my coaching programs. They refer clients to me to write copy when it's something that they don't handle or can't handle.
Yeah.
You know, they talk, and, you know, they're the ones on social media tagging me and saying, you know what, you're the king of copywriting. I never said that myself. I don't have to say it. You know, but when you treat people right, you don't have to say it. You don't have to brag. You don't have to try to be the freaking hero. And, you know, the people that you serve now will become your greatest fans and your greatest supporters tomorrow.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Ray. So I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and Henry, always for having me on the show. I really appreciate that.
It's a lot of fun, man. Your insights are valued over here as well, and can't wait to do our next one soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man. All right, take care and have a good weekend. Bye, everybody.
You too. So there you have it, guys. I hope this conversation helps you identify those folks that you think are truly out there to help you versus the ones that aren't. I want you to do some self-reflection and see, why are you attracting those people in the first place? I want you to get clear on your expectations. I want you to get clear on your intentions. And I think that energy is going to help you build a very successful brand and a very successful personal brand. And people are going to be thinking of you the next time someone else needs help. And they're going to say, guys, this is the guy you need to use, or this is the woman you need to use. This is what they've been doing. This is how they help. So, guys, appreciate your attention today on Facebook, Instagram. I'm really trying to build my YouTube channel, guys. So if you haven't subscribed to the Brand Doctor on YouTube, all you got to do is go to YouTube, type in the Brand Doctor. I'll come right up. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of next year. If we get there sooner, great. But if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please head over there right now. You're going to find a lot of content like this. It's going to be a little bit more long form, but it's really going to help you build a profitable and reputable personal brand and branded business. So if you can head over there and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I really, really appreciate it. And I thank you all for tuning in today. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next one real soon, guys. Take care.